we're not as deep as we have been in years past.
Yeah, how many guys are on the team, would you say?
A lot less than normal. A lot less than normal.
So 100 versus 200, 80 versus 200. How many do you kind of have a speculation on how many there are now, or not really?
I really don't on like a whole number.
Yeah.
I know they brought in a lot less freshmen, so like naturally the numbers aren't going to be as high if there's not.
True. Well, yeah. Was it your class that had 100 that came?
Yeah.
That was unreal.
Yeah.
That was another team.
Pretty much.
That was a whole nother team, which was nice because you had scout team offense, scout team defense when you needed it. But yeah, that was ridiculous. Yeah. Did you have any specific topics you were wanting to start out with?
I just had that one little thought.
Okay. I'll start with, I was going to say Joseph Satterley, who you both know very well. He's been dedicated to our 3 episodes of the podcast, commenting on them. And one of the things that he commented on, I can't remember what the conversation was that we actually had on maybe the first or the second one. I think it was me talking about how I wasn't very good at staying disciplined. And he commented and said, write down 20 things, excuse me, write down 20 things that you want to do in life or 20 things that you value, and then circle the top 5 and then commit to those top 5 things, which I think I know where he got that. I don't know if it was in a book or I think I saw it on like a motivational speech or something, but I meant to do it today. So we're going to have to do it this next week or something. I'll try and text you tomorrow and we'll come back with the 5 things we value most or 5 things that we want to do, I guess. I'll get details on that.
But in other words, Joe didn't come up with it himself.
I don't know if he did.
Joe.
But Joe, we do appreciate you being on the podcast or
Indeed.
Commenting for us and letting us know what we need to talk about because it's good stuff. Always need content, right?
Absolutely.
He also, so one of the comments he said was, gosh dang it, I meant to search this one too, so we'll have to come back to it. But the Simpsons predicting the future. Do you know many of the different times they've done that?
I know they've done it a few, but there's also a lot of them that are like BS that aren't actually true that's like circled around.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess I don't know too much about that. Do you know?
I know their big one was predicting Trump, and like ever since then, everybody's like,
they predict
everything.
everything.
Oh my gosh, they predict everything. And I think they've gotten like lucky a few times, probably. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I remember somebody showed me a skyline of, I want to say it was France in like 1990, and it showed a side-by-side. France 1990, The Simpsons, whatever they gave as a skyline view of France in 1990, and then 15 years later, they built a building that The Simpsons happened to have in their shot that the original photo from France did not. So that was kind of an interesting one. Whether that was true, I don't know. I didn't go fact check it, but it was interesting. It was just the fact that they may have gotten that one right too.
They could
Trump
be some sort of
time travelers.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think at one point I did look up interviews, and the guy who writes it actually was interviewed at one point about those things.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what his answers were, but I think people have confronted him about it and asked about it. So I'll have to dive down that rabbit hole at some point.
For sure.
I think it'd be a good one. What do you think, Tyson? Do you think Simpsons or I don't even know who the guy is that writes it.
Me either.
Did you ever watch The Simpsons?
I've seen a couple episodes.
Okay. It's like Family Guy, but kind of stupider in a way. I don't know.
I haven't watched a lot of The Simpsons.
They're both Family Guy's great, but they're both stupid. Family Guy, The Simpsons.
South Park is king for me.
South Park's a good one. They're just so I like the animation of Family Guy and The Simpsons more because the South Park, their humor is out there. It's pretty extreme sometimes, and that's why it's funny.
Oh,
especially if you can appreciate that type of humor. I can, but dude, they go dark sometimes.
Oh,
it's intense.
For sure.
It's funny. Was the one that always comes to mind. It's like, dude, whenever he gets his kid that was bullying him I think maybe we've talked about this one before, but
so he eats his parents?
yeah, on the chili cook-off or whatever. He's like, I made you eat your parents. I made you eat your parents. Holy shit.
I think that's funny, dude. That was so funny.
It's funny. It's just fucked up.
Oh,
it's just
big time.
Yeah. But it's pretty good. Well, I don't have anything else specifically written down, but I do have the Hollow Earth, and I tried to start researching things that supported the Hollow Earth. So I don't know if you dove into it any more than from last week, but
not in a whole lot more, because like I've got a pretty good gist, I think, of the theory. I was once more well versed in it. Now I just kind of like remember the main points.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Did you find anything interesting?
Nothing crazy, just that it's been speculated for a decent amount of time that there could be a Hollow Earth. And one of the cool things I saw a graphic of it. It was somebody had basically cut a sphere in half and showed how one of the theories was that instead of a hollow Earth right down the middle, it was hollow levels. So you kind of, if you can imagine kind of a, what's the Russian doll? You know what I'm talking about? You keep taking one out, smaller and smaller. It was kind of like that, but just areas of nothing. So a bunch of like bowling balls inside of each other, hollow bowling balls inside of each other. And so you could see where people might be living, 40 miles beneath the Earth's crust or whatever. And then 15 miles below that, and then 10 miles below that. I don't know. But that's kind of... I haven't
heard that one.
That's the visual they showed. And then I kind of looked up Admiral Richard Byrd and how he was...
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Oh, it is weird how he talked about there were basically oases where there shouldn't be.
Yeah.
There were Greenlands, and they didn't know what to make of it. I also saw this guy, a TEDx talk from 2013 that talked about they were doing studies up in Antarctica. No, on the North Pole, whatever. No, was it Antarctica? I can't remember. But they were doing studies to find out, they thought there were rivers underneath the ice. And so they were able to actually prove that there were rivers beneath the ice, but their theory was based on how the ice fluctuated. So they could see, okay, there's a level spot right here. There must just be land below it. And then throughout the year, these two rise. So there must be reservoirs underneath that cause it to fluctuate, whatever. And so when it freezes, but he explained, we had to drill through the ice half a mile, and then we finally got to the bottom, and they had a camera. This is from 2013, but they had a camera all the way down to the water reservoir, and they were able to show that there was a lake or river underneath, and there's water there that can be used. So that was interesting. Now, I guess that doesn't really support the Hollow Earth theory, but it's still a cool thought.
Definitely.
Yeah, it'd be cool if there was a Hollow Earth, though.
Dude, it'd be so cool.
I'd love to go to it. I don't know if there'd be the 12-foot beings or the...
Then that'd be even cooler. Like, come to find out there's this whole world that you have no idea about.
Yeah. All at different levels. That's a cool visual, to go at different levels of a hollow Earth. So maybe at each level is a different dimension, different wormholes.
That'd be insane.
Different crazy wormholes down. But again, that kind of defeats all not purposes, but understandings of gravity that the basic college student understands, like myself.
I think I'm a little below basic in that department.
Well, when you start doing calculations and start talking about how, things are pulled towards each other because gravity, and I don't know how that would be, unless there's like the same amount of mass per area or something. You know what I mean, Tyson? If you were to have, so say you had a hollow Earth, but it still had the same amount of mass that we think that the Earth has, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because we know the diameter and everything. So that'd be, I don't know how you'd deal with that, but what do you think of that?
I mean, I don't know.
You don't know? Do you think there is a hollow Earth or no?
I don't know.
Do you think there are interdimensional beings inside the Earth?
I mean, I guess we really don't know what's going on down there, but...
No?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know that's going on in the world right now anyway. Half the ocean's not mapped out, so...
That was kind of in one of the videos I was watching. It was saying that we have barely scratched the crust of the Earth, but in understanding it. So there could be a hollow Earth. We don't know. But I sure hope there is. I hope there are aliens.
Wouldn't that be cool?
It'd be great. I think I said it last week, but it would be great.
All the conspiracies you kind of hope are real. You're like, oh, that'd be cool.
Also, did I show you the video of future time lapse of the universe?
You have.
I did show it to you.
It's been a while. But
yeah, that is one of my favorite ones to watch and talk about, just because it talks about how basically in the future it'll get to a point where black holes become the building blocks of matter, of electrons. They become so dense and so small, and they'll spin around each other, and then you'll have black holes inside of black holes, and they'll freaking explode into this magnificent light and send energy everywhere. I'll have to show you that one, Tyson. That's a good one. But it's mind-boggling what physicists and astronomers think is going to happen with the universe.
I think I may have been a bit intoxicated whenever
we watched it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure I was too that time, but before, when I watched it, it's just been surreal. Yeah, it's good stuff though. Oh, I have another note on the Hollow Earth. If we had like a natural igloo somehow, so because of those rivers that I was learning about, what if somehow the ice that's started up there has created a natural igloo underneath? There's no sunlight that gets there, but there's heat. So I'm sure if you have heat and you have water and you have all the right elements for life, there's stuff that lives at the bottom of the ocean. So
from what I kind of remember, I can't remember where this exactly came from, but the theory was there was like a bioluminescence down there, like its own kind of little sun type deal, but it's not like
the sun.
It's not because the sun basically just kills us really slowly. You know what I mean?
The UV, right?
Yeah, and like we just slowly wither away and die because our cells stop recreating.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently down there, those people live so long that that's kind of one of the reasons they think.
Bioluminescence.
Instead of like a sun beating down on them.
But they have some kind of constant light source, is what you're saying? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think. But then again, like this is all...
Right. Maybe that's the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights. Maybe it's just a reflection off of the sun.
I'd like to see those one day.
I do too.
Nice.
I'd love to see those. Do you actually understand what it is?
No. No idea.
So I think, Tyson, do you know what it is? It's like the magnetic waves actually interacting in such a way that it's not like reflections. It's like plasma. And I don't know if it's necessarily in space or through the atmosphere, but it's how the magnetic waves hit just perfectly and reflect these ridiculously beautiful lights.
That makes sense. Is that you talking about kind of like something that would make like the Northern Lights?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was saying.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
Imagine being an early human seeing those and like having no understanding of what it could be. It's like...
Well, yeah, having some kind of... Imagine artificial light for the first time, like Thomas Edison, going from, fire.
Candlelight, I guess, would be...
But it's still fire.
True.
And it's still unpredictable. Now we have lights here and lights here that it's stagnant, doesn't do anything. That's pretty wild. I wonder... And we'll have no understanding of that jump. We just know the now of stagnant lights and fire. What if there's another one, another light that emerges?
That's interesting.
I don't know what to make of it. Well, I'm sorry. What was your conspiracy theory that we were gonna get to eventually?
Oh, I just had that.
I've been rambling.
You're good. It's been interesting conversation, I think. It was just that, like, if you had the choice within reaching the peak top of your field in a short period of time, but knowing like you would die pretty soon after you were on this high mountain for, we'll say like 3 or 4 years, or just live like one Because there's a lot of mediocre people in the world, like, or just live one long, monotonous, mediocre life.
Yeah.
But it was long. But you didn't really do anything special.
Okay.
Like, what would you choose?
I feel like I had to choose one or the other. Have to choose one or the other.
Well, you can, because, like, I would choose one or the other, but it would be under a certain circumstance.
Right, that's exactly what I'm thinking. So what would be your answer of those two?
So I think that, like, if like late 20s, let's say I'm thinking about getting married and I've already got, like, I've been dating a girl and everything, like, probably then, and, like, we're thinking about starting a family, probably at that point I'd be like, I wonder if I can just peek out at something and die in 6 years. But if that never happens, I could definitely see myself just being like, let's hit the peak, you know? And whatever happens next happens.
Okay.
What about you?
Same kind of circumstantial thing. It's like right now I've got a girlfriend, planning on future together, so I can't say that 3 to 4 year peak and then death would be in the running. But I don't know if it would be anyway, even if I wasn't in that situation, because it'd be cool to be at the legend status, to be of the great, however you want to say it. But at the same time, you know, legends never die, but yeah, they fucking do. It's eventually people are forgotten, and for your time you're remembered for, and maybe for hundreds of years. You got Cleopatra, you got people of days of old, is a bunch of people in the past that, of course, they're remembered now, but eventually their names will be not even scrapped from the history books. They'll just be forgotten because that's time. You can't beat time, I feel like. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. My point of it, I guess, was not to be remembered forever, but just be knowing that you made a significant...
Oh, knowing I made a significant difference type of thing?
In anything. Like, because naturally, if you were, like, the best of what you were doing, you would make a difference, and not necessarily in, like, other people's lives, but your mark would be left on this earth for many people to, like...
That's true. You affect a generation. I feel like it would carry through. You're right.
And like I said, not necessarily, like, your name being known forever, but in your time having...
Yeah, I feel like that's got to be a fair argument too. That you affect a generation, it's going to affect generations to come. So you did change the music industry in 1980. That's probably changed the music industry in 2020. It's going to cause people to be more experimental or whatever. So that's I don't know. Again, it's circumstantial, but I think maybe I would. It depends on what it would be, but I might take that area of greatness. What would your area of greatness be?
Arm wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you better not peek out and die on me, because...
No, it probably wouldn't happen anyways. But I'm just saying, like, if that was because... That's kind of how it popped into my mind, because that's a very relevant thing in that sport. Is people getting on a ton of gear and, like... reaching a super high peak, but not necessarily having longevity. Mm-hmm. So I was just thinking about that sort of compared to just life in whole, and was like, I wonder what most people would choose.
Yeah, I wonder. Go ahead, tell us down in the comments, Joseph Satterley, and everyone else along with him.
I'm interested to hear what Tyson has to say on it.
Yeah, Tyson, what you got to say? Which would you take? Your area, your years of greatness? Let's give it 5. Let's say 5 years of greatness. And then after that, you die, or a life of monotony and mediocrity.
I don't know. That's a tough question.
Yeah.
Because you can't get that time back. You know, 5 years doesn't seem like a long time.
Oh, that's not long at all.
No.
5 years ago, I was a freshman in college. So.
But I'm thinking about it, like, right now in my life, right now, like if monotony, or maybe that second life that you guys are talking about, was like what I have now, I'd do that the rest of my life. Because, you know, I'm not really, like, changing the world right now.
Yeah.
But I enjoy my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I feel like if we're talking about like fame, that's not for everybody, but changing the world, like that's definitely
not necessarily fame.
Maybe just
being the top of something and having a very,
I don't know, I guess that
because it depends on whatever you choose, I guess.
Right.
That's true.
Like what would both of you guys choose if there was a peak to chase? What would your peak be in anything?
I guess it'd have to be wrestling. You know,
wrestling for you. I feel like for me it would either be music or just, I don't know. I feel like I'd want to shape culture in a way.
The greatest podcast ever.
The greatest podcast to ever exist ever
for 5 years.
Podcasting.
4 years of epic podcasting.
No, I wouldn't want to do that. It's cool. It's fun, but I don't want that to be life forever and ever and after. But 5 years, and then it's like making a deal with the devil, though.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Who was the musician that did that?
That was a movie, wasn't it?
May have been a movie. I can't think of the dude's name. I feel like it started with a J. But he was a Crossroads. What the heck's his name? He had the Hellhounds come after him. He's a blues guy. You guys, you're not sure who I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
It's some Keegan would know that. That's probably where I fucking learned it. But it's you might look it up on your phone or something. It's Crossroads blues player. There's just this myth about him that he went to these crossroads and struck a deal with the devil to be the best blues player for 10 years or something like that. He would get up in a pub in a bar and play, and he'd be shitty, and then out of nowhere, less than 3 months later, he came back and was shredding as the best blues player to ever be known.
Is it Robert Johnson from Mississippi?
Robert Johnson, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Crossroad Blues, what does it say? Was he the Robert Johnson? That sounds right.
It says, according to legend, sold his soul to Satan at the crossroads in exchange for his remarkable talent on the guitar.
Bingo. That's got to be him, Robert Johnson. Look him up. I think Keegan showed me like a 3-minute video on him and just this weird, basically what I just described to you. It's
that's insane, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to have to get in here and freestyle sometime.
You can. I'm not much of a freestyler.
Did you ever play any instrument?
I used to play the trumpet in high school.
Oh, that's right. That'd be kind of badass. You could play taps.
I've literally forgotten everything. Like anything at all about it.
Yeah.
Don't remember a note.
I used to play percussion. I had some trumpeters in our band. We were not that good.
I was proficient though, I would say.
You could play notes and.
Oh yeah, I wasn't like great, but I was for a high schooler proficient.
Oh, you played in high school?
Yeah, I was in the band for a while.
Oh, okay.
No, not in high school. From 6th to 8th grade.
Okay, middle school.
Yeah.
That's like what I did. 5th through 8th or 6th through 8th, same thing.
And then like kind of sports took over from there.
Same thing. I did choir freshman year. Were you ever a singer?
No.
No.
Never been a singer.
I enjoy singing. I'm a bit of a songbird at times. Tyson, do I sing too much for you?
No.
Okay, cool. We gotta go beat up on the bag later.
Yeah, we'll have to show him who's boss.
I bet you could get some good arm wrestling workouts beating up on the bag somehow. I don't know how, but
just like leaning up against it with your arm, just trying to move it.
Use your arm only. Work on your shoulder.
Locked in from center.
Yeah. Are you gonna enter any competitions anytime soon?
Before I do, I want to just go feel like I'm pretty complete, I guess.
Oh, like healthy.
Healthy and feel like I've got enough. Like that I would have an ace that I'd feel comfortable against anybody. And just really build myself up where I'm at a place where I just don't think I can be beat, I guess.
Okay.
Because I don't want to go in there being like, well, I'll there's an 80% chance I'm going to lose, but good in that experience. My first.
I feel like if you were to go to amateur competitions, though, you'll go up against dudes that'll probably fuck you up, and then other dudes that'll.
Yeah, and that's. I think left-handed I would do pretty well, but I don't think I would win.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I want to think that I would win.
Right.
I guess. And I'm just, I don't know, still trying to learn the fundamentals and everything.
Yeah.
Takes a while.
You feel like you're getting them down, though?
A little bit. I don't know. I was watching some videos I've taken of myself and like realized that I'm not arm wrestling at all the way I thought I was.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That I'm not as technical as I thought I was. That I might be. I'm just using more brute.
Well, I mean, it seems to work out from what I've seen, but
yeah, most of the time. But that also means that I can use a lot more technique to help me better, I think.
Yeah, definitely. You gotta start your own school for it. Start Sam's school for wrestling.
I need to find a teacher where I can just
for wrestling.
Learn. I need to learn from somebody.
Is there anywhere specific that arm wrestling is a bigger thing?
Oh, in like Eastern Europe, Russia. It's huge.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a huge deal over there.
What about in the U.S. anywhere?
Not really.
Huh.
It's kind of an underground sport in that respect.
Okay.
But I got into it kind of through COVID, just being bored, and just falling in love with it. And I think that's what I'll probably do after football. So
there you go. That's why you're probably just going to have to assemble a team, people that you can actually wrestle with, and then get like freaking Eli Lilly in there with you.
He usually takes me pretty far.
There you go.
Braden Arnold, dude, he's beaten me multiple times.
Really?
Yeah.
So would you say from the times you guys have battled, has it been you or him more of the time?
He's beaten me once, and I've never beaten him.
Oh. Wait, you beaten him once?
No, he's beaten me the one time we've ever arm wrestled, he won.
Oh, okay.
But I was pretty drunk, and it wasn't on an arm wrestling table, so I don't know how.
If you got into that.
Because there's definitely a way that you can. You never realize how much you're getting screwed on the setup until you actually arm wrestle on an actual table, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Have you arm wrestled on a table yet?
Yeah.
Really?
One of my friends has one back in West Plains, and we arm wrestle all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's this?
Austin Wood.
I think you've mentioned him.
Yeah.
But I don't recall.
Yeah, he bought a table, and
Just
we
decided.
arm wrestle anytime I go over there.
You ought to buy one off Amazon or something. I bet you could get one pretty cheap.
Dude, they're like $350.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like you could build one of those. I'll build you one.
Engineering department, hook me up.
That could be our senior project.
There you go.
How much are you willing to put forth for the project? We just have to buy some wood.
If you could give me a quota that was like $150, I'd probably.
What do you think, Tyson?
Like a sturdy table that could withhold some thrashings.
Yeah.
Probably doable.
I think we could do that for 150.
And we could set it in here in the room. Live technique.
There's not a lot of room. This room is 9.5 by 9. This
Yeah.
thing is tiny. I have 3 tables in here and 3 individuals. That's the itty bitty room. But yeah, we can. I'd arm wrestle you. I'd try and I'd do my best.
Dude, some people, I think that, I don't know, people get into it.
Really?
And like some people, it just burns them up whenever they.
What do you mean?
Like they're just so interested in it. And I don't know. The people that are into arm wrestling, they're like really, really, really into it.
Yeah, I haven't done anything more than you just showing me the different grips and everything. But it's, in anything you're going to have technical movements.
It's sort of like a martial art, I think, in that way. Combat with your hands.
Yeah. I wonder how long they've been doing arm wrestling, if they did that.
It was in the first Olympic Games ever in Athens, Greece.
Wow.
So I think it was a part of the first one, which I'm pretty pissed it's not a part of the Olympics now.
Seems like it could be.
I think it should be, but there's rigorous drug testing for the Olympics, and most of professional arm wrestlers are juiced out of their minds.
Really?
Yeah, because there's no regulation at all.
For arm wrestling?
Yeah, there's no like drug testing.
No association to...
Yeah,
to
there's like 2 or 3 different federations, and they all kind of do their own thing.
That's a bummer.
Kind of. I don't know. You really get to see what people can achieve.
I just always think, I don't know why I equate it to this at times, but in my mind I was thinking of the slap fights. You've seen those. I think that one big bear, I think it was a Russian dude, swats the shit out of this kid. People getting put to sleep, standing there just accepting a slap across the face. There's some people I just wouldn't want to accept a slap across the face from. So
No. And especially if, like, let's say me and you are slapping each other, and I'm up first, and I slap you, and it does nothing, I'm gonna be like, oh shit,
here we
go. What did I just get into?
What am I doing? I'd slap Tyson across the face.
No comment.
He'd let the body suffer. That's probably what it'd be. I'd tell him to go get Sandy, and he'd run down to the beach.
Front hand. Backhand.
Front hand, backhand.
What's the quote?
When he's like, just when I start to get good at it, you want to quit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Front hand.
Front hand. It's like, this motherfucker's crazy. I don't want to do it.
I just remembered what that was on. I was like, Key and Peele.
Yeah.
Dude, was... They've got a bunch of funny stuff.
They're good. Have you ever seen... It's so bad. Have you seen the slave trade one?
Yeah.
It's so bad. Have you seen that one 2 times?
Can a brother get on lot A? Dude, that always cracks me up.
Dude, that's so wrong, but it's funny.
I'm just like, good God.
Oh, fuck. That could get us canceled.
Probably, yeah.
I'm just kidding. Tyson won't let that happen, right?
Nah. They gotta come to
Tyson's
me
got her
first.
back.
Exactly.
It was made for comedy. We're good, right?
I have to put a little...
disclaimer?
Yeah.
I mean, those ones are on YouTube.
That's true. We're just laughing about it. I don't know what would be the problem.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, Tyson, do you need to do homework?
If you guys want to roll like another 5 minutes, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Do you enjoy podcasting with us? Are we too boring?
No, it's a good time.
Okay.
I don't really got like any, stuff I gotta do right away.
Okay.
It's just, staying ahead.
We get it.
We get it. You got a good GPA, Tyson. Cool,
Yeah.
cool.
That's
cool.
not what I'm saying.
You're a better studier than we are. Especially me.
Hey, me and Justin know within a week it could just get slammed.
It can. Yeah, you go 3 or 4 classes in a row, and it's like, this is a good week, fine. And then on Friday, every teacher assigns, they let you know what the schedule is for the next 2 weeks, and it's like 15 assignments.
Or like test.
Holy shit, that came out of nowhere. It really does happen sometimes, though. It gets ridiculous. What, you got any crazy assignments or projects coming up for you?
I've got a 12-page paper to type about how the Catholic Church feels on vaccinations and mandatory vaccinations.
Cool.
Yeah.
How do they feel about mandatory vaccinations?
No idea. Because whenever I signed up, I'm like, I thought it was going to be shit I was going to be arguing against. So I'm like, okay, this will be easy. Mandatory vaccines, a couple others. Well, they gave me my first option, but then he's like, you're going to be arguing the point of what, like, all these other theologians have been teaching, so it's not even going to be my own opinion, per se. It's just going to be...
Oh, I gotcha.
How the church...
What class is this?
Christian bioethics.
Oh, that's bioethics. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
I bet it won't be.
Maybe not, but I feel like it's a fair debate to have, though. It does kind of suck that you can't argue your own point. You have to go do research and then say what this other person said. That's a little ridiculous. But yeah. I guess off of that, you'll be able to formulate your own response and say, hey, this is how I feel about it. Not that you'll have to say anything to the class. I don't know how.
True.
I don't know how you feel about mandatory vaccines. It depends situationally. Mandatory. It's all circumstantial, but I don't think all of them. I'm beating around the bush. Basically, I don't think the COVID vaccine should be mandatory yet. That's where I'm at. The other ones I can understand based on what we know about previous diseases and stuff. But I'm also in college and I don't know much about immunology or anything. So the one thing I guess I'm skeptic of is when you talk about long-term effects, there are people who have had long-term, not even... there's some disease that some people have been getting after about 6 months, but it'll last them 2 years of rehab till they get to their full potential. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I've heard of it.
It's not everybody. I don't think there's a problem with getting the vaccine, and the fact that we have, like 2.6 billion people who have been vaccinated. So There are statistics to show that this vaccine is not really. It's improbable that something's going to happen to you, but it can happen. Things can happen. It's like 99% that things are going well. And
it's weird. It's almost like a disease that 98% of the people were surviving. They made a
vaccine
that works just about the same as if you were to get it. Yeah, and stupid.
I just think people at this point should still have the choice to get the vaccine. That's all I feel about it. I don't discredit anybody to get the vaccine or to not get the vaccine. I feel that it should still be an option. I don't think it for how early it is. Now, I've also heard about, I think I've told you about how it's an mRNA vaccine. Do you know much about that? You've probably done a little research on it. So an mRNA vaccine, all that means is the type of, like what it does. So it actually, if I understand this right, you might correct me if you know much more about it, but it goes into your ribosomes, this vaccine, right? And messes with your DNA a little bit to, attack, basically to understand that it needs to attack this spike protein. Is that right? Does it create the spike protein? I can't remember exactly what it does.
I think it's like I don't know if you want to call it a protein or what, but like it kind of teaches, if you want to say teach,
your white blood cells, right?
To create a defense,
right?
Whatever that may be.
Right.
But I don't know that it actually alters your DNA. I mean, there's a lot of miscommunication out there and information, so it's hard to know what's right.
And that's maybe I got bad information, but I thought I understood that it actually does something with your ribosomes, that your ribosomes unzip your DNA, duplicate it, and then zip it back together.
Really?
And I think that's what your ribosomes do. They duplicate one side, and then because you got that helix shape, and so it duplicates one side, and it has all the amino acids on it and stuff, and then that information can go somewhere else to be dealt with, I think. And so, again,
that's interesting. I haven't heard that.
Don't quote me on this. That's kind of, the ribosome stuff is basic biology, and then when you talk about bringing the virus or the vaccine into it and what it does, I definitely don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I tried to do some research. It's been a little bit since I actually did, so I could go back and try and educate myself a little bit more. But that's what I understand from it at this point. And that's what makes me feel that it should not be a mandatory vaccine, which, the only thing that it's been mandatory for is, wasn't it like Joe Biden tried to, he passed an order to have any company that has over 100 people, they have to get the vaccine.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't think that's okay. I personally don't think that's all right.
Yeah, because then you have to decide between work and, your health.
Yeah.
Beliefs.
Right.
That's what gets me. It's like, when did we stop being free at all to make any decision? I think we've, as a society, have let this go too far.
Yeah. So, and I was going to go on for the argument that you shouldn't get the vaccine, but if I don't want to get the vaccine, that should be okay. I don't know how you feel about it, Tyson. You sound like you are, as far as not mandating it, that I don't think that should be the case.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
If the vaccine helps you, it's so confusing how if you get the vaccine, you can still transmit it. You can still get it, transmit it, even still be hurt by it. There are studies that show that can happen. So, but also people say, you should get the vaccine because it still helps others. And it's like, well, if you can transmit it, that's fucking weird. But regardless, if you have the vaccine, it should help you too, right? So if you have the vaccine, you shouldn't be worried. So it just goes back and forth, ping pong, fucking misunderstandings and miscommunications. So do you know much more about, do you have more to say on that? Go ahead.
Yeah, there's just so much misinformation out there. It's kind of hard to pick through what's right. But I'm on the same boat with you. Is if the vaccine doesn't control me spreading it to you, and all it does is maybe lower the side effects, there's no reason for me to get it. I'm a healthy individual, and my body can overcome that. But maybe somebody that's older that doesn't have the same immune system, that may be what they need to survive, lessening those side effects. But
right,
forcing somebody to get something that's not actually going to slow the spread very significantly, as far as I know,
mm-hmm.
I think it should be a choice, especially with, how it's not, 100% safe, and our bodies are capable of defending it on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, I don't think any three of us have ever been in an immunology class or plan to go into medicine, so we don't fully know.
I get the basic gist of how it works in my anatomy and physiology classes I took.
Wait, are you talking about the vaccine? Or?
A vaccine. I don't distrust the science of vaccines. It's just whenever there is no legal liability at all for the companies that make them. Like you cannot sue a company that makes a vaccine even if it completely screws you up, which normally it doesn't. But if it does, nobody's liable.
Yeah. That should be a problem. Seems like it should be a problem. Especially, I don't know though, because at the same time, it's weird because you do have a big company that's, if they're successful consistently, and maybe, you're 1 in 5 million, 1 in 100 million, that's, 3 people out of America, which is rare, but I'm sure situations like that happen. But if you have that to where those people are affected in a different way and they try and sue this big corporation, it's like, well, you were a statistic of 1 in 300 million or 1 in 100 million. How are we supposed to know that? So again, not that I'm sure there are times where they should be sued, and well, for as far as I know, as far as the FDA approving something for human consumption or however else you want to word that, it has to be, especially like a vaccine, almost 100% success rate, pretty much. Really?
Yeah, like if there's.
The Pfizer vaccine got FDA approved, right?
Yeah, recently here.
Yeah. Recent.
I knew that, but it was out for a long time before it was FDA approved.
The Pfizer vaccine?
All the vaccines.
Well, I've heard vaccines take normally longer than that to actually get FDA approved. Normally.
Yeah, normally, but it was out for a long time before it was FDA approved.
Well, what are you considering a long time? I think we have different.
Almost a year.
So I've heard 7+ years as far as being a long time. So
for what?
Not about any vaccine in particular. This is, again, talked to a kid in school about this, and he was saying it's probably, this one or these couple vaccines probably won't be approved for another 7 years, and I didn't bother.
Well, that's kind of the conundrum then there.
That's what I mean. So you don't know long-lasting
So how would you
effects.
make that mandatory for somebody if it's not even approved by the government?
Bingo.
Until just recently.
Right. So I don't know. Don't know the answer. Won't claim to know the answer. Yeah. But that's. I guess you understand where I stand on it.
Yeah.
Not against.
And I understand both sides. It's just, I think it's a bit anti-American to force its.
But I've also seen
citizens.
So I definitely also saw. I saw caricatures, not caricatures. What is it called? Like a political cartoon. I saw political cartoons of people who they had a shirt and they were walking off a cliff, and their shirt said anti-vax, and they're walking off into a cliff that said measles or polio or something. So when you think about it, of course you get the polio vaccine when you're a baby or whatever. You get these different vaccines so that you don't get them when you get older. You don't have these crazy old whatever, Red Death, or I don't even know what vaccines you get as a child. I can't remember, but if they didn't get to a point where those were good vaccines and they helped you out, we wouldn't have a long-lasting life.
Maybe not. People were living a long time before those came around. It's just a certain percent of the population was born and got screwed in ways that doesn't happen now.
Right.
With polio wasn't I think it wasn't the percentage. It wasn't like 50% of people had polio, was it?
There were a lot of kids.
A lot of kids?
I think there were a lot of kids around that time that had polio, and so people just started getting the vaccine. And at the time, yeah, you did still have anti-vaxxers, but.
Well, I'm not for those things. I think they're good, but I still don't think that you should tell a parent that your kid has to get these shots or you can't take your kid home or something like that.
Yeah.
It's wrong, I think.
Yeah, I guess that's true. You know, they probably make you sign a waiver that you don't even think. When you have a kid, you probably just sign it. But
yeah,
and you're probably not going to argue
kid,
anyway.
I'll probably 95% probably will
get every single vaccine that they require or they
recommend probably.
Yeah.
Or most of them, ones that I deem I think that are necessary. Like, I don't think the chickenpox vaccine is necessary. I didn't have it. I had chickenpox, and I'm just fine.
Does that mean you can get shingles later, or is it?
Yes. If you get the vaccine, you can get it.
You can get shingles.
There's a chance. But if you get chickenpox, you can never get chickenpox again.
But you can get shingles later in life. I mean,
if you
probably
have
possible.
I don't know.
I forget how that works.
I've never had shingles though.
It's like if you have chickenpox as a kid, you can get shingles later, or if you didn't have I think it's if you had chickenpox as a kid, you can get shingles later, right?
Yeah, I think it stems from chickenpox. It like kind of stays in your system even though the pox go away.
So that's kind of how you can never get it again. You always have it, maybe.
I think so.
That's so weird.
And it lies sort of dormant in your system.
Must be.
That's so odd. I don't know how that would work.
Science
rules. Science rules. Well, man, I guess you about ready to kick it. I guess we got the bird, so I think it's time to go. Thanks for tuning in. This Just In Podcast. No, excuse me. This is the
Check out This Just In Podcast.
Check in This Just In Podcast. This is the J&S Podcast. We're in the same studio, so I keep getting jacked up on that. We will go ahead and write down your 20 things that you value, and then write down circle the 5 that you value the most. And then after that, we will compare and see if we have the same ones as you. So thanks for tuning in. We had a good time. Sam, did you have a good time?
I did. Like, comment, subscribe.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Do you want to hit that fade to black again? Wait, what do you got to say, Tyson? Go ahead. Say something.
Stay hard.
David Goggins. FTB. Bingo. There it is.